to me, this is just a question. I don't know. This is out there.
Go for it.
What I don't get from men is it's like, well, yeah, this is my first ministry, but I have to do things to help that ministry first.
My schedule, my whole adult life has been what I wanted it to be as I'm working on placements and things of that nature. And what I perceive is that because my schedule is so, or it appears to be flexible to her because I'm not going to clock in at a 9 to 5, she thinks that she can interrupt the time that I need to do the things I need to do. I'm like, because I would say this, we would argue from time to time, and I'd be like, listen, if I was working a 9 to 5, you are not interrupting me to do anything because I'm going to be actually working in these moments.
Welcome back to the Marriage Journal Revealed. We are so excited for what's in store today. Oh my gosh, we have some very special guests joining us today, and it's going to be deep. So first, want to welcome them on. We have Mr. and Mrs. Dupree.
Hey.
And of course, you know, I'm Crystal.
I'm Justin.
We're excited for this episode. We're excited to dive a little bit further into some discussions that we've had prior. And this particular discussion started when it was kind of like an impromptu. So we kind of put Candace on the spot a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But initially, though, the conversation started because there was a lesson that I had to learn. Actually, I'm still learning. Even in, 18 years of marriage, we're continuing to evolve. So I'm still learning it. And one of the things that my husband is continuing to teach me humbly is that when he comes to me and he says, Crystal, listen, when you said this, when you did this, I wasn't feeling it. I didn't like it. I want you to stop, and the way that he does it, because he does it ever so elegantly, which we've gotten to over the years. Typically, my response would be, well, I only said it like that because you did X, Y, Z. Or, well, I don't understand that because, if you did this or if you said this, I always had a rebuttal. I could not just validate what he was saying, what he was trying to bring to me, really hear that he's coming to me, he's trying to be vulnerable, transparent, but he's ultimately letting me know, babe, like, that wasn't cool. I don't want you doing that anymore. And me being okay with hearing him out first versus being so quick to respond.
Right.
And so it has been really humbling. It hadn't been easy, but I came to notice that once I got to a place where I understood he wasn't just trying to check me, because that's how I felt. He wasn't just trying to check me. He was actually really trying to communicate with me.
And I think even it took you a while to get to that point because at first I was aggressive in my approach, in which
that's true.
Which communicate, okay, I got to be aggressive back because he's not talking, he's not.
Or defend myself.
Yeah, you got to defend yourself because I'm so aggressive at my approach.
Yeah.
So I had to learn in the process too and calm down, and really say, okay, let me have this conversation. And what I like that she started doing was preparing me for what, because she has to come back to me, because she, even though she didn't say what she wanted to say at that moment, she has a memory bank that lasts for a minute, so she had to wait till the right time, like, okay, now he did it again. Let me go ahead and approach him and let him know how I'm feeling about this situation.
Yeah.
So then the way she came at me was, she's like, okay, listen, I don't know no other way to say this. So I'm just gonna put it out there. So I prepared my heart like, okay, she's trying to get something out. Let me not be defensive. Let me just listen to what she has to say. So now I'm already prepared to, when she gets done saying what she's saying, just be quiet and be like, okay. And if it's something, I'm sorry, I just looked at that like, if it's something that I don't agree with at the moment, then I can address that. Like, okay, well, I don't agree with that. But if it's something that I do, or it's like, okay, I can see why it made her feel this way. So then I would approach it like, okay, I apologize that it made you feel this way, and change it, right? What was dope was when we had this conversation, what stood out to me when I was like, oh no, we gotta have him on the podcast, is when Candace was like, dang. But sometimes, like, she automatically started having a rebuttal, like, but sometimes I gotta feel like, he's like, dang, I do need to work on that. And I was like, let me see what Mike talking about.
So with that being said, let's really get into it, because this isn't just, it's not just us.
No.
You know what I mean? No. It's not just us, and it's something that I think, people harp on a lot. Communication. What does that look like?
Yeah, what does that look like?
What? Give us a situation where you're saying, oh, y'all have to communicate better. Well, tell us what that looked like for real. So, so we ask you, okay, you're trying to communicate something to Candace, and you're passionate about it. First, how are you communicating it to her?
Well, it depends on what exactly I'm communicating.
Okay.
If it is something that I feel needs to be changed, I try my best to do it in a manner where it doesn't overwhelm her or cause her to immediately go into a defensive mode. What I usually do, we kind of came up with this thing because it used to kind of be, I feel this way, and we would say it on the spot. But we kind of came up with this thing where it's like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna take tally of that, because if you address something in the moment that it happens, things are a lot more prone to get out of hand.
Oh, they do.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, you know what? We talk on these days. We kind of have certain days that are designated for us to have conversation. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna tally that, not to be petty, but just to address, so that we can address it properly when you're not in this particular state of mind.
Right.
So then when I come to you, and I'm like, hey, this made me feel like this, and this. But not only that, I think it's good that because if you're going to mention problems, and this can be tricky when you're presenting it, but if you're going to mention problems, I think you also have to come with some form of a solution as well. Because I think if I tell you, yo, this made me feel like this and I didn't like how you did that, okay, cool, you can stop it, but is there an actual solution? Because if there's something that a person is habitually doing, even if they're not conscious of it, it needs to be kind of replaced with something has to replace it. It's not going to just be a void that just stop. You know what I mean? It's something that you can say, hey, maybe, I guess it kind of depends on the thing that we're addressing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Agreed. One of the things that you mentioned is if she's not that you guys set a designated day or time to address certain things, because you've recognized she may not be in a place where can receive what you're saying. Not that she doesn't want to, but if your emotions are running high and you feel strongly about something, you may not be in there. So, so being cognitive of, okay, let me just, give that time. When doing that, are you more so, no, I'm ready to talk about it now, or are you respecting him waiting to have the conversation? Or are you even knowing, does she already, know that, hey, wait.
I would say in the past, I was definitely the person that was like, no, I want to talk about this right now. And because Mike, which I think is very important to highlight or talk about, is how vital their roles are. If they're leading with how something, like if they're just being true leaders, we naturally follow leadership. That's just how we're built.
That's right.
So if you were being and I'm talking about like a leader the way that the Bible says to be a leader. There is, if a woman is not submitting to that, there is something spiritually off. So, and I'm saying that because there is something that he recognized in me where I'm like, no, I want to talk about it right now. He's like, yeah, but I see how you are, and it's not healthy if we talk about it. And depending on the way he communicated, it really depended on how he communicated that. If it was out of irritation, like, nah, I don't want to look at you. You have to,
That's real though, y'all.
Then that would make me kind of, say, well, no, I want to talk because I see how you're leading. But in times where he's like, no, babe, I see how you are. Maybe what I said offended you. It's not healthy if we do it right now. Then I'm like, dang, okay, I think you're right. you see, it's like, that's just how we're built. Yeah. So as long as, and I'm not trying to put everything on you, but it really does go back to the man.
It does, 100%. I used to, I don't know why I was this way. Probably because I just wanted to be a jerk. I don't know why, but I wanted a reason just to get out the crib. I was like, man, whatever. I used to start arguing. I remember one time. This is bad. This is just a side, but I remember one time. Growth. Yeah, no, it's definitely growth. When y'all hear this story, this is bad. This is the only time where the police was called. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. The only time, all right, so I wanted to get my life right. I was trying my hardest to get my life right. I said in the household, I said, listen, y'all, we're gonna wake up at 6 a.m. Don't drink that, you about to spit it out.
Oh, okay.
I said, listen, y'all, just talking to the whole family. We're gonna start waking up at 6 a.m. so we can pray and read the Bible together. Chris,
out of the blue, out of nowhere. First of all, like you said, leading. I'm like, what? Where did
I wanted to lead. I was trying to, you know, because I was being a knucklehead, and I wanted to get it right. And I said, we about to start reading, but Chris said, I ain't waking up at no 6 a.m. to read the Bible.
I sure did. I said it.
I was mad because she did it in front of my nephew at the time. I'm like, you gonna disrespect me in my house and do all this? So, you know, I got loud, and she was, you know, it wasn't no conversation. I just wanted to tick her off even more. And it got physical real quick. Not real physical, but a glass did shatter on the side of my hip right there. But in that moment though, I mean, it's been a lot of times where we know as a man, if we really want a solution, we know how to. I feel like I know what buttons to push. I know what's gonna piss her off if I don't address her correctly. So I take time to actually make sure that picking my battles and making sure, is this something that needs to be addressed at the moment that it needs to be addressed? To your point, we even said that we started doing dinners. When there's no reason for her to feel like I'm attacking her or coming at her in a certain way. This is a setting where we're going to start having, we need to have this conversation. Or even at night, because the Bible talks about don't go to bed upset. So I can feel her energy off a little bit if she says, you know, we're going to bed, and it's just something about her demeanor that's completely off. And I'm like, Chris, okay, what's going on? You know, talk to me, you okay? Yeah. And then I feel like that opens the door for a conversation. But everybody doesn't have, what do you say to somebody that doesn't have that type of like, what am I looking for?
It's maturity in knowing and being able to just humble yourself and, you know.
But what if somebody's not there yet? Like how somebody's already, they're in that right now, they're in that space
I
right
think
now.
as the man, it's our responsibility to be able to assess our wives, to analyze them and tell where they are or where they aren't.
Yeah.
I think as adults, you should be able to do that with each other in general, but especially as the man, because as to her point, they're going to follow where leadership is. But with leadership, if there's no example, what are they actually following?
That's right.
So you have to show an example. So if I can look at her and I can see, okay, she's weak here, this is here.
Yeah.
Even we're made more logical than they are. Like we think logically by nature, led logically. They're more emotionally led, as we hear all the time. But if I'm looking at something and I can assess it and I can see her, okay, cool, she's struggling. Okay, cool. So it's up to me to learn how to navigate her so that I can present the missing piece of her according to what I'm saying, or where she might be weak. I can present a strength. I can assess, okay, she needs this. This needs to do.
Who taught you that?
The Lord Jesus.
Lord Jesus. No, real talk. Real talk.
No, it was just something that, it's something I learned over time. Yeah. Because there were moments, it's part of maturity, you know. There were times where I would just, you know, be like, yeah, you need to quit being like that, you know, or whatever, and it'll be.
So, because I really want to say something. I'm sorry.
No, go on, don't say it, because I'm trying to get going. Let me get some tea.
Dang, I think did I forget my thought? So I think because he did learn, and I would say it was by like trial and error, but I think there is something within us that God has placed there, just period. Yeah. So I could tell that, I'm like, dang, he actually has the tools to lead me, but his character would not allow him to lead me the right way. And we recognize those things in our spouses. I'm like, dang, he's actually a phenomenal leader. Yes. He could be. Yes. But I'm like, but there is a character thing that is just off. Yes. And I'm like, and because of that, now you about to receive this. Yes. Because I can see that you are giving into your flesh instead of your spirit.
But that's where we have to learn to navigate each other. Because if I can see something there, and you can see that my character is there, your job should be to navigate things in a way whereby I correct my character and I want to do it. You've provoked me to want to do it, and I should be provoking you in those areas of weaknesses. So we'll always be able to see something that the other person can't see in each other.
Yes. And I think that comes with maturity. It does. Because that's not something,
I mean, it's a reason why you recognize it in the first place. Like, why do I recognize that this is a problem? That's because you hold the solution. Yeah. So how are you going to present it so that it's solution based?
Even I hear the word maturity a few times, but immaturity. It's more of a maturity in your relationship, not just as an individual, but the maturing of the relationship. And the reason why I say that, I'll bring that to light, is because we've had a conversation where we look back at our friends and they didn't make it through it. Like, they're divorced. A lot of them are divorced. There was a time in our relationship where we could have, those words just never came out. If she would have said it, I would have been gone. Or if I would have said it, she probably would have been gone. But we just never said it, right? So there's a part, I believe there's a phase in every relationship where you have to go through that fire. Like, you're going to have to, have those arguments, that disagreement and bump heads as you're learning her language. As you're learning how to speak to this individual, as you're growing. And I want to just really encourage anybody that's currently in a situation where you're constantly arguing, constantly fighting, can't figure out how to communicate with one another. Keep fighting, though. Keep fighting. Not keep fighting each other, but keep fighting for, to learn that behavior, to learn their language so you can have that effective communication. Because you guys been married for how long?
13 years.
13 years. So it's not, they're not married, haven't only been married for, 4 years and everything look lovely. No, y'all been married for a while. Y'all had to learn each other's behavior, if that's safe to say.
Yeah. And I think I also want to bring it back to a couple of points. One is, naturally as women, and we've discussed this before, that we want to be led. We want to be led. And so in that, we
cutting up.
Y'all cutting up.
They like, do y'all?
We really do want to be led, but even to the story that Justin mentioned, where he wasn't leading. It wasn't a consistent leadership prior to the situation that escalated that you talked about earlier. You weren't consistently leading.
No.
And so when it was like, okay, we're going to do this in the morning at 6 a.m., just out of nowhere, I'm like, who's going to do that? You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm going to now change a pattern in my day for you not to be consistent, for you to just come out of the blue and say this and not have a conversation with me about it. You know what I mean? And then so with me not having that consistent leadership, him changing something, I didn't respect his decision. Because ultimately, as women, we also have to come to a place where we're respecting the role of of his leadership role in our household, right? We have to submit to that role. Right. And so being led effectively, submitting to, and being respectful of what he's trying to do, and he's not trying to harm us, that's something that we should have been doing. You know what I mean? But because I'm like, who are you to say that when you ain't been about your business in the first place?
And you see how her neck was doing all that?
Like,
that's exactly how her neck was doing.
Like,
who you think you...
Like, seriously, it's just like, okay, what are we doing? And it takes learning to, he's trying to better your family. He's trying to lead you. Even if he's doing it in the wrong way, somebody has to be mature and saying, okay, you know what I mean? I'm going to go ahead and let this happen. And if it doesn't turn out the way it's supposed to be, then that's another conversation. Yeah. And so one of the things that as women we tend to do is not validate what our husbands are trying to communicate. We don't validate it. We just pop off, go to the next thing. We don't respect it. And if we're not being led, not to, to downplay anything, it comes in that, so. Yeah, so it is still a cause and effect, but at somewhere in there, someone has to stop that ping pong,
Right.
you know. And so because we don't do that, it takes us years to figure out. Just close your mouth. Just listen, you know. And just like, and I take it back to, I like the fact that you said y'all have a day. Justin and I, a day that you'll address, you know, you want to address it in that moment if you know the other person, you know, is not ready to receive that. And Justin will come to me, and what I've learned to do, because he honestly has been teaching me that, and what I've learned to do is prepare him for the conversation we're getting ready to have. And so I say, babe, okay, I don't really know the best way to voice this. So all I can do is tell you, I'm getting ready to tell you something. It may rub you the wrong way, but I'm trying to communicate it to you. I'm trying to give it to you the best way I know how. So then he disarms. He's prepared. He's ready for whatever is getting ready to come out. And then he may, in that moment, say, okay, I hear you. And wait until another day, just like y'all.
Because I got to process.
Because he has to process it.
All this information she be giving me, I have to process. I was like, okay. And I gotta reflect too, make sure that. Yeah, so it may take, and that used to take a minute too, because she'd be like, you just ain't gonna say nothing?
Oh, yes, that would drive me nuts.
Why does it take so long to process? I don't understand.
What is that? I don't know.
Because we have to come up with something logical so that we can output. We typically aren't instinctively expressive towards something that y'all want us to digest. When a man is at that point, it can be diabolical. So you want him to be able to always be able to process things. So I think that's what's good. But I think, you know, a key for me that I've learned in all of this is, I think a lot of people in marriage, right, or preparing for marriage or whatever the case may be, the maturity that we experience because of experience, it happens because we're in tune with what's going on, blah, blah, blah. In nature, certain things progress naturally, right? For example, you grow as from a kid to an adult, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Those are natural things, but there are other things that aren't natural. You have to develop so that they become natural.
Right.
And in marriage, you have to we jump into marriage because we're interested in another person, but we're not really, we haven't gotten to the place where we're more interested in our self-development for the other person.
Yes.
So when I'm aware that I need to develop so that I can be the best I can be, my development will help me relay a message that he needs to hear, that she needs to hear, and I can express it in a way that they'll be receptive to it.
Yes.
We have to think about so much because we haven't created a nature of developing ourselves constantly. Yeah. So it's like, let me think. And then we're trying to develop so much in a single moment or week or day. But when we make a lifestyle that is composed of a innate nature of development, it becomes something that you start to see, oh man, this is why a lot of people when they're older, they're older, so they've been through it. But it's really something I believe younger people can also adapt, but it has to be something that we're conscious of. Yeah. And so we're only conscious of it when the problem presents. Yeah. But development tells you, let me be aware of things before there's even an issue. Yes. So that way I can always be a step ahead of the game. Yes. And it's easier for you to digest what I'm trying to say, especially because we're one, you know? Yeah. To y'all point, him just trying to get you to wake up randomly and start praying stuff. I mean, it's a good thing, you know, it's a noble attempt.
It was, yes.
It's a noble attempt. But to me, I always say this, just because the attempt is noble doesn't necessarily make it noble. Right. You two are one, right? We're one. So if we're one, everything always has to be agreed upon. Yes. Always, 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 always. I can't just come and present something to her and say, this is what it is. It must be, I believe we should do this, and I think this is going to be effective for our household. Yeah. And then she has to sit with, okay, cool, we agree, let's do that. Yeah. The moment I try to force her to implement something, I might get a glass to the hip.
Even in that though, there's been times when Crystal would be like, "No, we're not doing that yet," or "No, I don't feel comfortable doing it." He used to eat me up. I'm like, "Oh, what you mean we're not doing this?" Like I heard from God. God said we doing this. What you mean we ain't doing this? It's like, man, I just don't feel comfortable. Man, and I would have to submerge all that pride, because pride was raising. I'm just be real with you. Pride was rising. I'd be like, it took a minute for me to get to that point though, but I realized that once again, okay, I'd rather have peace in my house still. And ironically, there was one situation where, I gotta wait till we close the deal. I gotta close the deal. we still in the midst of closing this deal. So I wait till we close the deal. But it's been plenty of times where I was ready to move on something, and she said no, hold off, and I held off. But the outcome represented itself again later, and I'm so glad I did listen to her. And there's sometimes where it's like she jumped on board and she didn't really understand it 100%, but she said, you know what, I'm gonna trust you. I see that you need to, that we do need some change in the relationship. Like I will say this was last year. This how I knew. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. Last year around this time last year. This one I was like, oh, we in there. We in there. Like we made it. We made it to the promised land. When it was just laid on me last year, this time, New Year's Eve, to empty out our bank accounts.
Oh yes.
And I was so scared to tell Chris, babe, God told me to empty out our bank account. But sure enough, she was like, all right, let's go. And we emptied it out. Being that we've been homeless several times before, we didn't know where our finances was coming in and stuff like that. And I was just like, she respected it. But in that trusting God and she trusting the God in me, she always said there's times where she didn't trust me, but she trusted the God in me. And being in that, so many doors. This year has been one of the, a year of abundance for us. But being able to, once she did that though, I was like, dang, like she really trusts me to lead this household. Lead. And when she started trusting me to lead, it made me, okay, let me tighten my belt buckle and let me do some more stuff that's like, that's showing her that I'm ready for this, this.
Okay, so tell me, with everything that we discussed and making sure that, you guys, you're leading, you're communicating, you're recognizing, okay, this isn't a good time to have this conversation. We're gonna have this day, you receiving from him. When did that shift take place? Is it still taking place? You guys have been married, you said 13 years, right? Mm-hmm. So what did that look like? What was that journey in getting there?
I'll go first. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, I would say, because maybe I think for the both of us, it's probably different. But for me, how they say, things get worse before it gets better. Yeah. And that's what it was for me. It was just the communication, the leadership. It was this is getting worse. What is happening? And I think it got to a point where, you just get tired of things being redundant, being the same. And so that's when it started to get better. Okay. When it was okay, this isn't working. Okay. This isn't working. Okay, so how do we make this work for us? Not for you, not for me, but for us together. Mm-hmm. And I think when we both was just fed up with whatever, the communication, just with whatever, it was okay, let's sit down and really figure this thing out. Okay. So that's what it was for me.
Okay.
Oh, I think for me, we got married young. I don't know how old y'all were. We were 22.
Okay. Okay.
That was 22.
No, she was.
I was 18.
She was 18.
Oh, you were 18.
I was 18.
Oh,
so 18 years old, and we were 18 years married. Who's doing the math?
I was 24.
Yeah.
He was 24. So we were 20. We were saying we were high school sweethearts. Mm-hmm. We started dating at 18. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just, and you guys can testify to this, I'm sure. Let me not assume. Okay. But just being young, there's so many, I feel traits that you just receive from your parents or that are just kind of instilled from you, good and negative, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel that just you're so used to being you, and then especially being so young, you're not really fully developed as an adult yet either.
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
yes.
So we stepped into it 22.
Yep.
I think our marriage is really a testament of the grace of God.
Yeah.
Because when I think about it, it actually doesn't make sense. It should have.
We talk about this all the time.
No, real talk. It's
Yes.
it's what was we doing?
Yes.
Why did we get really? It's what were
Who
we
allowed
doing?
us to get married
Yeah,
that young?
that's what I'm saying. It's like that.
What?
And
Why?
so, but you push and you press, and so certain traits I would notice because God kind of had me to be set apart. I'm always like a set apart person within my family or within whatever community I'm in. God always kind of has me in this type of place. And I just was always able to see that there was more than what the environment that I was in.
Right.
And I'm going somewhere. I don't want to be long drawn out on this, but the same thing would happen. I would notice I don't want to be this way. So I would look at certain things and individuals and I'd be like, wait. And it was to a point I was like when she would start to address me, like even though her approach might be what we would consider incorrect, she would be saying something and I'm like, yo, she's challenging me. And it would still do something, even though the approach might have been wrong, I'd be like, and so I would assess and I was like, oh my God, that's the same thing. I do not want to do that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So so being conscious of, different things that are instilled in you and taking tally of what's negative inside of you so that you can, remove it. If somebody's telling you something and it's bad, then you might want to consider that that's something you actually are doing. And so that's what, for me, character refinement, it kind of looks like that. So that's what brought me to the point personally is the realization that your character does always need to be refined in order to go to another level. What was good for yesterday might not be good for today and today not tomorrow. So recognizing that, somebody would tell me, and this is just in general, but man, Mike, this and that, or somebody I would hear like, Mike, damn, man, Mike a little bit like this. And I was like, man, hold on, that's a third person, man. Let me go and meditate and consider this. Am I like that? And I'm like, dang, I'm like that. So you have to be honest with yourself. I think you can't be in denial. And so that's when I could get to that point for me to know how to receive. And then for me also, when I understood that in myself, it helped me to grow. Now I understand I can navigate myself well. And as you master yourself, it's easier to present things to other people in a way where they can receive it. Because I know what I can receive, how I can receive it, and I know what hurt, what didn't hurt. So I can conjure up a plan that might be more effective, even though the way I received it, it hurt me and I corrected myself, but that pain brought me wisdom to where now I can present it to her in a better way. And she can correct herself. So it's just experience, but honesty. Some of us are delusional. Like we think we perfect, and it's like, nah, bro, you're not. We not.
Nah.
So that's
I'm a little bit more perfect than
a little
most,
bit. The most. I say about 85, 90%. 90,
Because he will really say that. He will really say what you said and be serious. He'll be like, no, for real. Usually I'm like 85.
I'll tell I'm right 85, 95% of the time about things. I'm pretty much right.
Because you think about we take time to really.
Yeah, it's just like if I say it, it's a high chance it's right.
That's
In their minds.
in their minds.
So we'll give y'all that. In your minds. But I can say that I could attest to that, taking on and recognizing a trait in yourself that you even received from your parents or siblings. I know, I'm the youngest in a total with both parents of 10. And so having to, yes, with both parents, total of 10.
Okay.
All together.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Together. Mom kids, dad kids, 10. I'm the youngest. So that having to defend myself, and wanting to being blamed for things that had absolutely nothing to do with me. And it's so I naturally had this defense about everything, and so Justin would always be like, babe, that's not what I'm trying to say. That's not, that's not what I'm trying to, do. And it's just like, okay, but, I did not mean it like that, or I didn't. And it's just so quick to have a defense. And so.
No, another thing I was about to say, tone. Every now and then I'm like, hold on. Just talk to me. You don't have to raise your voice. Just talk. Let's have a conversation. Before this escalate, because the moment you start yelling at me, I'm shutting down. All right, this ain't finna go nowhere, and I shut down. But you was able to. Yeah,
and so that defense or feeling like, we talked about just making sure that we're united, we're grounded or whatever. And sometimes I would feel as though he wasn't seeing me. So having that conversation, him having that conversation and always wanting to defend myself, but he showed me that I see you. I understand what's happening. Trust me that I'm listening, I'm hearing you. And that's why we're not about to have this conversation. Like what you said, you know, and letting him know that and not feeling like my voice is being suppressed, you know? And so sometimes that's why it would escalate in tone, because it's just like, he's not gonna hear it. He's not gonna understand me. And that has taken time, a lot of time.
It was times too where you'll say what you had to say. I was like, all right, cool. You look at me like, nah, he don't get it, babe. I'm like, babe, I got you. I understand. What you said makes sense. And like I had to reassure, like, no, what you're saying makes sense. It's cool. Like I don't have to come with a rebuttal. I don't have to say nothing. I'm with you.
But you're not expressing that you got it the way she wants you to express
it.
So that bothers them. So that's a new issue, and it's like, wait, time out.
So as women, you know, we're naturally trying to make sure that it's ironed out. Yeah. And sometimes we can go a little too far with trying to make sure it's ironed out, you know, and having men that actually lead us, you know, come into that realization where, okay, disarm, you know, he's not against you. He's trying to help you. I would say even, you know, to Candace, that young lady that's out there that is going through it right now, whether she's married or rather she's in a relationship, it's her boyfriend or whatever, and she's feeling like, I want to have this discussion right now. You know, what would you say to her? How would you help her navigate through, you really do have to get to a point, and once you realize it, you didn't have to have that conversation right there.
Yeah.
You know,
what would you to? Which camera? I would just say don't. Just as simple as that. I think it's important to go back to what Mike said earlier. He said a lot of people are into themselves, but not into the development of themselves for other people. Yeah. And I think that if you really like lean into that and really listen to that, like develop yourself, even in conversation, even like talk to yourself in the mirror, like, you know, like, is this really a thing that I should be, like, do all the things that you would do without that person, you know, and I think it'll just, I mean, there's a lot that I could say, but I would say don't, like, have conversations with yourself, like, make it make sense to yourself before even addressing your partner with something. 100%. You know, I think that
outside of the height of your emotion.
Boom.
So let me ask you a question, because let me ask you something. So when you're in a relationship, right, and we're talking about reading, me knowing that something is off with Crystal, and I've heard my guy friends or, you know, fellas say, I even heard women say, oh, you don't know what's wrong with me? What you mean? You should know what's wrong with me. And then like, oh no, what's wrong with you? Oh well, if I got to tell you, then
you missed the mark.
You missed the mark.
You should know, you know, because you should have what is it, telepathy? Is that how you say it?
I don't know, psychic something. Because we talking about the conversation when there was something off with you, but I was like, I'm gonna let her, you know, saying work it out, because a lot had happened in that time.
Explain that situation, like where you just, because we talked about it a little bit off camera.
Okay, so basically, I'm gonna say exactly what it was.
It doesn't have to be in detail.
No, I'm about to be in detail, because I don't know how to talk no other way. It's a wrap.
We might edit this out.
So let's see if we need to edit this out. So basically, this is what happened. Crystal had recently got laid off. Is that too much? It's the truth. You feel me? So it's the truth.
I recently had the opportunity to work from home.
Hey, okay, so she recently got laid off. And,
Y'all funny.
and she was working from home. And so I got my natural flow with editing and producing and all that stuff. I got my natural flow. Now here she come, and she's doing her thing, whatever. And this is my perspective. You can say your perspective. Yeah. So I'm thinking everything good. You know, I'm hitting her up, hey babe, you need this. And she's asking me to do certain things throughout the day that was throwing my rhythm off.
Right.
And I'm like, but I can't do that. I need to focus on this.
I'm listening.
So you throw my rhythm, I say, I'll get to it, or no, I just need you to handle it. You just got to handle it, because I can't. You know what I mean? And so time went on. I think a week had passed, and that whole week was like a little shaky. I didn't know what it was exactly, because I kind of tried to see what was wrong with it. She was like, no, whatever, left it alone. And so one day, I texted her, I said, I probably shouldn't have said this though, but I was like, working from home is a little difficult, huh?
Why are y'all like
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear what he said?
Because she was so stressed. I was like, yeah, it ain't easy what you thought it was.
It's how you communicate.
I probably should have
things.
communicated different a little bit. But I mean, I was just like, so she was like, yeah, because you're making it difficult. I feel like you're against me. I'm like, whoa, hold up. I'm like, I'm asking, do you need anything?
Yeah, this is a text message. He's making it audible and not that way.
Because I didn't know that was wrong. I didn't even.
Yeah.
Oh, you saying yeah.
Yeah, you're reading it in a different way.
Nah, if I read that text message, they'd be like, yeah, she said it like that. I heard your voice. I heard the way you said it. So she was like, no, you making it difficult. And I'm like, hold up. I thought I was supportive, this, that, and the other. She's like, nah, you making it tough for me. I feel like you're against me. I said, nah, we're gonna have a talk. We're gonna talk about this when I come home. And so I get home, and that's when she expressed how she was feeling. I'll let you go into it, and I'll piggyback on what you're gonna say.
Yeah, and in all transparency, this is not something that happened a long time ago. This was very recent, and this is a shift, a transition in our family. You know, us being able to work from home together, and one of the things is that we both had busy schedules, things that we need to get done. And I am such a planner. I'm writing everything down, getting things checked off, trying to do it, but I'm also getting in my rhythm and in my flow of what needs to be done. And so because we have, a couple of businesses that we're doing, there are certain things that I needed him to be a part of. And when I would ask him, he would just be like, I don't have time to do that right now, just do it. And so,
so you said, I don't have, but I said, handle what you can handle.
Right.
And whatever you can't handle, then I'll come back and help you, but I need you to handle what you can handle. Don't just say I just left you out there.
I'll let you have that portion. So he would say that, but there were several things, because there's a portion of our business that he handled up until the point where I came in. Right. So there were certain things that we needed to do together. Mm-hmm. And what he was trying to communicate to me was that, babe, I trust that you can get it done. I trust that you can get it taken care of, and making sure that he was able to complete whatever it is that he had already had lined up. And me fitting into his day, and coming in and stopping him, it just a matter of, we needed time. I wanted time set aside where we could do it together. Mm-hmm. These are the things that I need us to go over together. And in his space was, I'm in a flow, I need to get this taken care of, and it's being interrupted. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling like I'm being pushed off, and what I'm doing isn't important. Right. And he's feeling like, just handle it, take care of it, you know what I mean? So that was a moment where we were bumping heads, and I'm kind of getting in my feelings, because really, I didn't really know how to communicate that to him without, making him overwhelmed, pulling him again from his work. So some time went by because I wasn't ready to get to tell him. Right. So when he sent me that text message, my God, that was not the right message to send me in that time, okay? So when he sent that to me, I'm like, no, working from home is not difficult. But it felt like he was making it difficult, because instead of working with me, it felt like he was working against me. Yeah. So boom, we're bumping heads. And that was,
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
Okay, this might be a loaded question.
No, go for it.
Because we've experienced things like that.
So essentially working at home was difficult? No,
we've experienced things like that. When I say that, like, I could tell when he's in his flow and he's just like working. Yeah. And he doesn't want to be interrupted. I can just tell. I don't even have to, 1,000%. just. But I'm like, I guess to me, this is just a question. I don't know. This is out there.
Go for it.
Sometimes I feel like I'm like, your home is your first ministry. right? Which is each other first. That's home. What I don't get from men is it seems like a lot of times, well, sometimes it's like, well, yeah, this is my first ministry, but I have to do things to help that ministry first. Do you get what I'm saying? Like I have to do things outside.
You have to help? You
No. Like he has to do things first, right?
So that I'm effective in the first ministry.
Okay.
Right. But I'm like, I just feel like the balance, I'm like, where is that balance
My
for men?
office hours are from 9
Let's say it.
to 5.
So let's make this clear.
No, I'm
Let's
just
make
trying
this
to,
clear.
it's just a question, really. I'm like,
Okay, so similar to y'all, you guys are in film and television and production. I'm in music production. I'm a music producer. My schedule, my whole adult life has been what I wanted it to be as I'm working on placements and things of that nature. And what I perceive is that because my schedule is so, or it appears to be flexible to her because I'm not going to clock in at a 9 to 5, she thinks that she can interrupt the time that I need to do the things I need to do. Yeah. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge because it's just like, for me, it's like, okay, we have to set these boundaries because I can do what you need me to do. You want me to go run the store? I can go here. I can get you this. I can do this. I can pick up the kids. But I'm actually, because similar to y'all, Candace would work. And then, I don't know, maybe in the last 2 years or 3 years, ever since, I don't know, it was Nassau or Shiloh, the birth of them.
I got 4 kids too.
We got 4 kids. So ever since the birth of number 3, I believe, she hadn't worked. Yeah. So that was a new...
in the way I was working.
In the way that she was working, let me say that.
Yeah,
She's home is what I'm saying. I'm saying
working
she's working from home now. Yeah. I'm not, you working, okay. She came home, and so what it did was it created a new dichotomy in the home and getting used to that, et cetera, et cetera. So it was just like, but at the same time, I'm like, because I would say this, we would argue from time to time, and I'd be like, listen, if I was working a 9 to 5, you are not interrupting me to do anything because I'm going to be actually working in these moments.
This is true, right? But when you are in these fields, the difference is a lot of times you're working way longer hours when you're not corporate.
It's true.
No, like, okay, like you just said, it's 9 to 5, but when you're in these other fields, it's like, I'm working to like AM to AM, it's just like, so it's like,
there's no set schedule.
It's like, where is that balance? And how do you make your home? Because your home is your first ministry. Where is the balance in that?
I like to use this analogy sometimes, though. Like,
and then I'm gonna go after you.
All right, this is gonna be real quick because I'll use this analogy sometimes. Not often, not with Chris often, but I with the fellas, I'm like, back in biblical days, right? The man would have to go off for months to handle to provide
killing dinosaurs.
we not back in biblical days.
So let me bring it in. So let me bring it in.
But because he's explaining the nature of a man. But okay, go ahead.
He is, because let me bring it in. Even from that too. But even in this situation, and in the situation that we had, my husband, like you said, we're in production. We're producing, he's editing. There's not really a set break in that, right? Because you're consistently doing it. So there's not a set break. Now, granted, you don't have to leave the house. It's not a 9 to 5 at another place. And so there is 2 different ways to look at that. It's to look at it as, okay, I don't have a 9 to 5, so I have to make sure that I'm working and I'm providing and I'm doing this so that we can maintain what we have at home, right? The beautiful thing about working from home is that although your schedule isn't as flexible as what it appears, you have the ability to manage your schedule.
Yes.
So, well, hold on. Let me just finish.
I have a question.
Let me just finish.
All right.
You have the ability to manage your schedule. So when you have careers where you can't really be interrupted because, like, for instance, Justin, when he's in his creative zone, if I interrupt him at the wrong time, then it does break that creative streak, or wherever he was, he could possibly lose that. You know, then he has to get back in his flow. And he'll say, it'll take me longer, babe, to get back in my flow, you know, and it's harder for him to get back into it, right? So with that being said, no, it's not a 9 to 5 outside of the house. It is I'm committed and I'm doing this and I'm working however many hours it takes to get the job done. So where we have to do a better job at is that when you're getting ready to go into that creative zone, right? Because that creative zone could be 7 days. And as women who are married to these men with these jobs that demands that, taking care of the home first is also us communicating, hey, this is my honey-do list. This is what I need help with. Let's create this and understand this is what my expectation is from you before you head off into your zone. And now sometimes things will come up where I have to go, babe, I have to come in and I have to get this done. And me as his wife really understanding and coming to the realization, okay, is this important enough that I need to interrupt him for it that we haven't already discussed? So if it's picking up the kids, you're not working a 9 to 5. So I may need help picking up the kids. You know what I mean? Because if you were on the 9 to 5, we didn't have the luxury of both of us having the ability to pick them up. But if we can structure or reschedule our schedules in a way where it's like, okay, on Tuesday and Thursday, the expectation is I need you to pick them up from school today. You know what I mean? We do have the ability to manage the schedules in that aspect.
No, I agree.
So taking care of the house first is making sure, babe, wait, okay, before the day starts, this is what I have going on. This is what you have going on.
Well, for the most part, I will say, because you were working the 9 to 5 and I was home taking the kids to school, picking them up. So for the most part, I still keep that. There has been compromise where I say, Chris, look, I'm so far behind for this week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be working, I'm gonna be in the studio. You might go to bed before me, but typically what we have established is, as long as I'm in bed with you at night, you know, that's what you want. You was like, look, I just don't want to go to bed by myself. And I was like, okay, so then it's time for me to shut it down. So that's one compromise I've been in. But it's some nights where I say, Chris, I can't do that. That's the main thing. Now, some of my frustration has came where she's like, babe, you want to go grocery shop with me? I'm like, why we both got to go grocery shopping? We can kill 2 birds.
That's
like
facts. That's facts.
But that's her love language. I know that's her love language.
But sometimes that's the only time we may get with the careers that we have is the grocery shopping. Or we like to do hikes in the morning. So if we go on our hikes in the morning,
that's enough. The hike.
But that means a lot to me.
Well, like for us, right? It means that's the point. It means a lot to you. Like for us, we go together. We try to every morning to take the kids to school. Yeah. Now this is about a total of like an hour and a half of our day. Yeah. Like, what is an hour and a half of your day to somebody who makes their own schedule? Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, if you can do it, surely, like, there is a sacrifice, but
you have to be intentional with the time. And sometimes we've all been married for a long time. And so sometimes we can get into that. We actually talked about it on another episode, but we can get into that familiar flow of zoning and say, oh, well, you can understand. You know what I mean? Or you get into this flow where that time, that hour doesn't come intentional because the careers are so demanding. And so where we have to remember is that time, that hike in the morning, if I don't see you at the end until the end of the night, I got some time in.
It's done so much. Like,
you know what I mean?
I got some time in. It's such a little thing, but it's done like so much to you.
I have a question.
You got a question.
Do we have to, this is just a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Every day, if a day goes by and we don't spend time with you, is that an issue?
Go ahead.
Well, I'm
I think
asking
we
because
actually built up to that because I used to be a truck driver and she used to go weeks without seeing me. So I'm like,
I think if you're in town and you have the ability, I don't think that there is a reason why a
day should go by.
I don't.
Okay,
Where it's like no time, like you can't take 30 minutes to have a conversation.
but you got us for the
minutes.
rest of your life. You can let one day.
Yeah, I mean you
But that's
can,
all
you
in-
can. But the question was, like, should it or is it a thing? Like,
Well, I think that it is a case. I think it is a case by case because there are some times where he may get up because he has a deadline he has to meet. You know what I mean? And so that's why I said again, it is important that it is communicated.
it's about balance.
This is where I'm at
hold
because it may go
hold
time.
on. Let my man speak. I need to hear Mike.
Listen. No, I'm just saying to me, it's about balance because, and balance is not, I say this all the time when I get chances to speak. Balance is not about doing things equal in the amount or the quantity of time. Balance is about the quality and what is there. My son, he's 3 years old. No, it's true. It's true. My son is 3 years old. 20 minutes might be sufficient for him to feel quality time from his father.
Yeah.
Boom. He was with me for 20 minutes. I felt that. He played, he laughed. He's like, all right, cool, go on. I want to watch YouTube. I watch Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So he's doing his thing. But I gave him, that time was what he needed.
For sure.
And I think as spouses, we have to, sometimes I feel we have this thing in our head where it's like, well, he was working for 8 hours. So surely he can give me these 2 hours. Like, and it's like, I get the concept, but I would rather work for 8 hours. You know, we go through our day and then have, maybe it's once, twice a week, but we got this grand scheduled time where we can really be intimate and have quality time and go out to eat or go on a date. And, you know, because we're working, you know, let's say, okay, let's go back to 9 to 5, all right? 9 to 5, you're putting in about 40 hours a week. You're not speaking to your spouse for 40 hours in a week on a just talking time. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So there's no way that automatically debunks the theory or the myth that balance is about equality across the board. That's not what it's about. Yeah. It's just the quality of what you're outputting. Yeah. So she needs to feel it to a certain place or feel it in herself like, oh, that's enough. That's all I needed. And my thing is, though, don't make it about the time per se. Although time is a factor, but we can't make it solely about the time.
no, it's about intentionality. Like, I think sometimes for men, it's like, let me do this just because I don't want
Well,
her.
you said this, as creatives.
Wait, hold on, let me hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so I think it's about intentionality because sometimes men, maybe women have wired you to feel this way, and we apologize for that. But it's like,
You apologize on behalf of all women just now?
Yes. So, no, but there's this thing where it's like, well, dang, let me do this just because I don't want her to feel this, or I don't want her to come back and say anything to me later, or I don't want her. And it's like, no, we don't want you to not want us to do something. We just want you to be intentional about what you're doing. Like, dang, like, yeah, I have been working a lot. Let me plan something like that she's going to remember.
But don't create grounds as to what you want us to do it though. Like if you want me to be intentional and I'm doing it because you want me to be intentional. I'm going to be intentional about things, but you wanting me to be intentional brings me to a certain place, a certain realization that that's what you want in certain moments, a certain way. Maybe I'm intentional. Maybe my intentionality is, I know, okay, cool. Fridays we talk, Sundays we talk. I'm gonna make sure this is my intentionality. But you may want me to meet a higher demand of intentionality. And maybe in that time as I'm developing to meet that, maybe I'm just like, you know what, just because she wants that, I'm gonna give it to her. Yeah. You have to allow us to grow into the natural desire to want to do that. Because sometimes, like, I'll put it to you like this. I'm in the studio, this has been my life the last month. I was going to studio 5 in the afternoon. So I'll do my morning routine, prep for the studio, kids go to school, all of that. Go to the studio 5 in the afternoon, come back home, leave the studio at 5. I'm getting back home like 6 in the morning. Yeah. So I'm doing like 12. It's insane. I don't even know how I'm alive. But that's what we were doing. And so I would get in and she said, I know I'm apologizing on behalf of women everywhere, but I would wake up and like the kids got to be up like I'm talking about I'm getting in the house. They got to be up in like 2 hours. So I'm tired. I'm talking about dog tired.
Nah, I know.
And I'm just like,
Trust
okay,
me.
just so she don't say nothing, I'm gonna just try to get up and just. So I'm a zombie trying to like, and I'm because I don't want her to say nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, she gotta understand that I am literally unable. Now sometimes she'll be like, okay, he tired. Let me go ahead and do it. But I'm using that just as an extreme example to show you that you have to also find balance in yourself of the expectation of your wanting us to be intentional. Because if you can find that personal balance, us being intentional can't be just because you want us to be intentional all the time. I'm tired. 5 hours, 12 hours.
I think that's
plus
different. I think that's a little different from what I was saying, though. Right? Was that?
No, I just put a situation on it because you didn't give a situation.
Yeah. No, that is quite the situation. And even with that being said, like if you're only going to get 2 hours of sleep and it's like, okay, you have to understand that I was in the studio. How many days, weeks is that the schedule? You know what I mean? Because if that's the schedule it's not normal. Okay, so if that's not normal and I was prepared ahead of time, babe, for the next 5 days, this is what our life is going to look like. Okay, so for the next 5 days, I'm coming in, I'm only going to get 2 hours of sleep, and I want to prepare you so that, you know, I don't leave you feeling like, you know, I'm not here for you, I'm not helping you. So if the next 5 days I have to then get up, take care of the kids, cook, then I know there's a stop to this. It's going to be the next 5 days. And then we can go back to our normal schedule of him being intentional.
Or even the break, I would say, I said, look, on this day, it's 5 days, but we could go on a date on next week, something. I set something, an expectation for you. And then she's like, okay, then like you said.
Because now she's aware of your intentionality.
Yeah.
Yes,
that makes sense.
That's making it, because at the end of the day, if you're saying, do we have to talk every day? Yes, because I'm gonna explain it. I'm gonna explain it. Wait, do we have to talk every day? Yes, because I'm in relationship with you. A day is not gonna go by that we don't have a conversation.
Oh no.
But if I have established already, there's 5 days, he's getting ready to be gone, I'm good. Do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? Because I know you're on this, you're on this schedule. So my expectation is not that I'm getting ready to have an hour-long conversation with my husband. My expectation is not that we're getting ready to sit and talk. Yeah. I'm not putting that expectation on you, because you've come to me and I'm already set up to know that's not going to be it for 5 days. Yeah. I'm good. So 5 days, I got me time and I'm chilling with the kids.
So what you got to say about that?
No, I agree. Like,
but this ties in. But honestly, you guys, this really ties in, and I hope that some of what we just said, and in our own transparencies, because you've heard two different situations of a real life situation that has happened, and in our transparency, hearing how we've also talked through it, really heard each other, but understanding that what I'm saying, what Candace is saying, our husbands have validated and understood. And what Justin and what Mike is saying, we've heard and we've understood that we can't put such a heavy expectation on what we see as intentionality. We also have to make sure that when these things do come to you, when there's a situation that's brought to you, really listen to what the person is saying. Really understand he's not out here to neglect me. He's not out here to not validate what I'm trying to say, and it's reciprocated in the same way. But understanding we're living real life. And although we've been married 13 and 18 years, you can see that we're still living real life. And it's needed to hear it, because it may sound one way when it's just you all talking. And then it sounds a completely different way when you have other people sitting in on the conversation. You hear a different perspective. You know what I mean? And so being intentional, there's an opportunity to be intentional in everything. There's an opportunity to be intentional in prepping me for what's getting ready to happen the next week, 2 weeks, even if it's a 30-day stretch where it's like, babe, for 30 days, just give me 30 days, 12 hours a day, 30 days. I need to be able to eat. You know what I mean? We might have to get some quickies in and that's it. You know what I mean?
Ain't nothing quick over here.
That's another episode, and we definitely gonna talk about it. But preparing me for that, preparing us for that, is you being intentional. You know what I mean? Yeah, so even if it is that 12-hour, I might get a text message at 1 a.m. Babe, I'm still in the studio. I love you. You're not gonna see this unless you get up and go to the bathroom. I love when Justin does that. You know what I mean? You may not see this until you go to the bathroom. I might not get that, you know. But if I roll over and he ain't in the bed and I look at my phone, dang, he's still in the studio. Oh, he texts me.
Oh yeah,
okay.
You're right. Because I do, like, when it's late and I know that I'm gonna be in there, I send Chris, I say, babe, don't wake. Pretty much I let her listen.
He sent me a whole to-do list too.
Please don't wake me up. I'm gonna be in the studio for something, it's just tonight. Can take the kids to school, all that. So I do leave notes and stuff like that. But you told me that. You told me you like when I do that. Yeah. So that's.
So it seems like over the years, your communication has like not just gotten better, but like that is the basis of your, like, it just seems like y'all communicate like just.
Yes. Yeah.
We actually talked about
over communicate.
We actually talked about that, how like I ain't got nobody else to talk to for real. So she got to hear everything.
It just makes sense now for us. Not even that not having anybody, but like, because we have people in our life that hold us accountable. We just want to make sure we say that. We do have people in our life that hold us accountable. But we have made it a point to sit down and do this, and we do it often. So that it's like, if we can't work through it, then it's something real big. Because something that in all these years, it may not be petty to somebody else, but now where we are, it's like,
yeah.
Even with the kids, like we made it a point to make sure that, okay, like if I'm working like crazy, there's one day out the week where we're gonna sit at the dinner table as a family, and because I gotta eat, so I can take a break to eat with the family, and then ask Mariah how was her day, because she liked to talk. You know what I'm saying? So she's gonna tell me how her day was. My kids' day, he tells, and then we just.
And that's enough for us.
Yeah, that's enough. And I'm like, I bet now let me get back to work.
Yeah, because we can't. It's not. We are at a place where we can't go out all the time and hang out and do things like that. So that little walk, the walking the dog, that works for us. You know what I mean?
You just gotta find what works for you.
Yeah. So.
Hey, that was dope. We gotta shut this thing down. This thing, I don't even know how long we've been doing it. Man,
yes.
I hope y'all enjoyed it.
Thank y'all so much for coming on, being transparent with our audience. We love it. Marriage Journal Revealed. Make sure that you like, you comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we want you to know when the next episodes release. And if you have some things that we didn't touch on, some questions for the Duprees, let us know. You never know. It may be a part 2. We don't know. So make sure you comment. Stay connected. Marriage Journal Revealed. We out.
We signing out.